And how's it going, everyone? It is Skullzi here with the latest and the greatest gaming news. There was a lot of awesome stuff at E3 2019, including a very unexpected event that involved Todd Howard and Elon Musk of all people, talking about everything from Tesla and technology to gaming, and the focus of today's video, Starfield. I've been getting caught up to date with all of the E3 announcements, trailers, gameplay, all of that stuff, and now that I'm finally caught up with everything involving E3 2019, I'm excited to finally be bringing you this video, because in today's video I'm going to be breaking down anything Starfield related that we can get from the Todd Howard Elon Musk interview and tell you why I think that Elon Musk definitely had a major hand in developing and building the lore for Starfield. First of all, I highly suggest you watch this entire interview, but keep in mind the Starfield talk isn't really until close to the end of the interview and they don't talk about much at all, but what Todd Howard does say is very interesting and is arguably the most confirmed information about Starfield that we have gotten straight from Bethesda to date. Since the information in this interview is brief, although interesting, I respect the community enough to not stretch this video out to 30 minutes or something just to discuss 3 little pieces of information. So I'll go ahead and I'll give you guys the quick summary of all of the Starfield information that can be found in this interview, and then we'll break it down piece by piece and talk about what it means for Starfield itself. So basically, Todd Howard confirms 3 things in this interview. Starfield will have space travel, which involves spaceships powered by helium-3 fuel. Space exploration will be dangerous but realistic, as physics in the game are going to be accurate but gamified a bit. And lastly, Todd Howard states that the lore and scientific explanations for all of the futuristic sci-fi technology and even the history of the world will be all based on what would be a realistic expectation of the future. So no space magic stuff, but that means that all of the lore will be deep, believable, and technology will most likely seem to stem from what our current technology might eventually progress to. There are 2 small pieces of information that is mentioned about Starfield in this interview, but I wouldn't consider these 2 other pieces of information confirmed quite yet, but I'll go ahead and I'll address these 2 mini bits of info first before tackling the confirmed information. The first small piece of plausible info is that Todd Howard mentions different alien races. He doesn't go into much detail, nor does he just straight up confirm that Starfield will indeed have alien races, but when talking about lore building in general, he mentions that the different alien races would need to have deep lore as well, and that they would need to make sense in terms of their place in the lore and the game. The way Todd Howard mentions all of this alien race talk stuff, though, doesn't make me think it is directly related to Starfield, but at the same time, he very well could be trying to drop some sort of hints that Starfield will indeed have various alien races. This is Todd Howard we are talking about, though, so take what he says with a grain of salt. He could be trying to lead our speculation in a certain direction, and it's possible that if Starfield does have aliens, they may not be in the game the same way we might originally think. The next piece of plausible but not confirmable information actually comes from Elon Musk when he seems to accidentally mention that Starfield takes place about 40 light years from Earth. Some people think this absolutely confirms that somehow Starfield will indeed be 40 light years from Earth, and that Elon Musk wasn't supposed to mention this but just accidentally said all of this. However, that may not be the case. I don't actually think that's the case, because NASA has recently been studying another solar system that happens to be 40 light years from Earth, and this research has been making headlines all over science and technology news outlets lately. With how entrenched into space and technology Elon Musk is, he is most likely following this real-life research, and while explaining what kind of technology would be needed to travel a great distance in space, he needed some random large distance in light years to fill the blank in his conversation, and 40 light years was already in his memory from recent news, so he just went with that. I personally don't think that this 40 light years comment had anything to do directly with Starfield. However, it could be possible that Todd Howard chose to have Starfield take place within something like 40 light years or a similar distance, because that is where humanity would most likely go when they started to explore outside our own solar system. We wouldn't just go 100 light years or 2,000 light years. We do baby steps, because you know, when you walk, you put one foot in front of the other, and you don't just somehow end up 50 feet in front of you because you decided to just start traveling that day. Now, with all of this stuff out of the way, I want to break down the few pieces of real Starfield confirmable information from this interview. First of all, the tone of the game is set. Todd Howard has said before that he often approaches his games with a very specific tone in mind, and Starfield's tone will be futuristic sci-fi space exploration, but with realistic and reasonable roots, meaning that all of the future technology that we will be seeing as we explore space will stem somehow from modern-day technology that we know today. Todd Howard mentioned visiting SpaceX to meet with Elon Musk in order to get advice on just that, how exploring space in the future would most likely be possible. In fact, this isn't the first time we saw something like this in a game, because the Codex of Mass Effect Andromeda mentions how SpaceX's reusable rockets set the foundation for space travel and technology to advance considerably. It is in fact this very statement in this interview that leads me to believe that Todd Howard has likely been in touch with Elon Musk quite often in order to get advice and information about things related to Starfield. Todd even said that he and Elon have developed somewhat of a friendship, and because of this I think that Elon Musk has had a very large hand in the lore and technology that we will be seeing in Starfield. Next up, Todd Howard mentions that space travel will be dangerous and realistic, but at the same time toned down to fit well into a gameplay experience. He even says that Bethesda Game Studios is paying special attention to how physics would be in space and low-gravity environments. This gets me super excited because it sounds like space travel won't just be a loading screen or a watered-down experience of just hitting a button in your ship and looking out your window until you get to your destination. It seems like we'll have to keep in mind how much fuel we have, where we are traveling to, and what is in our way, as well as even possibly getting caught in the orbit of a nearby sun before being pulled into its fiery abyss. Todd Howard doesn't want Starfield to be a simulation exactly, but he wants you to feel like you truly are out there exploring space and all the dangers that come with that. If Bethesda is going through all of the work and trouble involved with trying to make physics in space and low-gravity environments feel somewhat realistic, then I doubt that those portions of the game would just be small and meaningless. Space travel and exploring outside of our ship, even floating in space itself, will most likely be something that we can do completely at will and whenever we choose to. We'd have to think about either tethering ourselves to our ship or trying to match its velocity with spacesuit boosters, planning our spacewalks very carefully in order to do spaceship repairs, upgrades, or maybe just even to explore derelict space stations or the wreckage of other ships. This has me even more hyped for Starfield, as the scope of the game seems to be very large, like a true space exploration experience that is somehow at the same time still a Bethesda Game Studios RPG game that we would expect. Todd Howard also mentioned that spaceships will be in Starfield and that they will use helium-3 for fuel. This fits into the tone of the game that he mentioned earlier because helium-3 fusion rockets are the most plausible next big step for space and rocket technology. There are already several theoretical designs for helium-3 fusion rockets, and I believe that the decision to use helium-3 in Starfield most likely came from one of these Todd Howard, Elon Musk visits to SpaceX. Helium is also a common gas found in several gas giants throughout the galaxy, so the likelihood of being able to skim fuel off gas giants that include helium-3 in Starfield is pretty awesome and already starts to paint the picture as to how deep this game will actually be. So you can see at first how it seems like the real Starfield information in this interview isn't really all that much, but when you actually start to piece it all together while keeping the tone of the game in mind, you can start to get a very clear picture into what Todd Howard wants Starfield to be, and the hype is already assuming direct control. But as always, what I want to know is, what do you think about all of this? Be sure to let me know down in the comments below, and if your comment wins the internet, I make it featured in a future video. Don't forget to subscribe to stay in the know when it comes to the latest and the greatest gaming news. Follow me on Twitter for the latest channel updates and random stuff about me. And if you want to have your hand in providing future content and getting access to unique and awesome awards, then consider subscribing to the community on Patreon or joining the channel here on YouTube as an exclusive channel member. Links for all of this awesome stuff, including even more, are down in the description below, and as always, thank you for watching. Be sure to tune in next time when it turns out that the main playable character for Starfield is Elon Musk.
just works.